Hello friends, so we are going to try and do a 15 to 20 minute one, we being me, a 15 to 20 minute video for the upper back area, upper back through the neck out to the shoulders, kind of that region, and it's going to be just a stretching but also strengthening kind of a video. So get ready for both. Upright position, kneeling, sitting, whatever works for you. You could even be in a chair right now. And definitely do a brief scan through the body, but then come back to that area from about the top of your kidneys, right? If you know where the bra lands on a body, right? It's beneath the bottom of the bra line area would be another landmark I could use potentially. About 2 inches beneath the shoulder blades. So go to that place first. Let that be the bottom of where you're scanning. And then as you start to move up the spine, right, notice not only the muscles alongside the spine, but where your shoulder blades. Are they pulled together? Are they all the way out to the side of the body? Are they up or down? Notice if the spine wants to, the upper spine, right, the upper thoracic wants to round behind you, or does it want to pivot forward? And, you know, try to find that place in between. We try to avoid the extremes. And then that crown of the head just gently lifting up. Check in with your breath just to make sure you're breathing. But then also beyond that, we want to try to bring in that we want to try to cultivate that soft belly breath, aka diaphragmatic breathing. And then go ahead and open the eyes. So we're going to work with the shoulder blades a decent amount. I think it's a key to that area in the body. And so I'm going to turn my back to you. I apologize for that, but that's where my scapula are. Scapula are the anatomical name for shoulder blades. So there are two, I think of them as angel wings on either side. I don't have the best shirt on, but hopefully you can still kind of see that movement underneath my shirt. Right? And so we're going to go ahead and bring them in circles, trying to keep our spine nice and long. So the crown of the head still lifts up, the buttocks bones still reach down, and then that spine is not going to change as I go into these moves, right? So now go ahead and I'm going to move my shoulder blades up, and then I'm going to move them as far forward as I can without my spine moving, and then I'm going to slide them down towards the buttocks, and then I'm going to move them in. I always kind of think of them as like elevator doors, and then smooth that out and make that a circle. Again, it's not a full body movement. We're not moving the spine with this today, and if you want to move with the spine with it once or twice just to know what that feels like, and then try to isolate it and have it be that it's just the shoulder blades. Right? Now we're going to go the other way. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and reverse the direction and just start to move those shoulder blades in as broad of a circle as is comfortable in your shoulder girdle. Right? For some of us, that might be a smaller motion because we have sensitivity or injury we're working with. Now I want to just say it so that we start to learn it and bring it throughout, right? The four motions are this. When my shoulder blades move up, I'm in what's called elevation. We know that, right? Elevation, up. When I move forward, it's protraction. I'm moving away from my midline. When I move my shoulder blades down, I'm moving into depression, down, depression, right? When I move my shoulder blades together, I'm moving into retraction. I bring them back together again. Now try to find the place right between all four of those motions. And then we're going to come on up to our hands and knees. And from hands and knees, knees underneath the hips, right? The wrists underneath the hands. If you have sensitive wrists, you could be on blocks or forearms on the blocks or the ground or on fists. And then we're going to try and do the same thing that we just did. So it's not a cat-cow. I keep my spine really long, and I move my shoulder blades up to my ears, elevation. I'm going to move them down around the sides of my body. I'll feel my upper back move up to the ceiling a little bit because I cannot move my arms forward, right? And then I'm going to move them down towards my buttocks, and I'm going to move them together again. So your spine does move. I should rephrase what I said. And go ahead and start to make that into a circle. So you're still circling your shoulder blades, but it's not that I'm trying to move the spine. It's that my hands, my arms are stable. And as I start to move through the movement, the four movements of my shoulder blades, I start to get the movement to happen in and around those muscles of the rib cage and, of course, the ribs are connected to the spine, yeah? Now go ahead and switch and go the other way. Reverse the direction of your circle. Take it quite slowly and really try to find the edges and find the largest circle that you can find. Crown of the head reaches forward the whole time. What I see often with this is people dropping chins towards chest and crowns the head down to the ground. So try to really keep your spine as long as you can as you move through those circles. And then the next time that they're in protraction around the sides of the body, I want you to pull the belly up and round into cat, our traditional, I should say, not true, our traditional cat. Let the chin move into the chest. Let the crown of the head move, or not move, but face towards the ground, right? And from there, again, I'm pulling my belly up like crazy. I'm pushing down into my shins, my feet, my hands, my finger pads, and I'm letting that area between my shoulder blades round as much as it possibly can. Now, shoulder blades down the back and reach the chest forward, so moving towards our traditional cow, right? Now move your thighs into imaginary beach ball and keep the belly toned up so that this does not go into the low back, please. We want to keep the low back long and we want to isolate it more in the upper back. So again, I move my thighs into that block, I keep my belly toned in, but I'm going to really try to slide my shoulder blades both down towards the buttocks and together like elevator doors for today's purposes. This is not every time you do cow that you should do this, right? But I'm really gonna try to amplify that opening right at the bottom tips of my shoulder blades. And then of course the other side of the body is the chest. We're opening the chest. And then go ahead and let that go. Come on back to a child's pose. Knees a little wide, big toes touch. Buttocks down towards the heels. You can leave them higher if you have any issues. You can stack something under your forehead to bring the floor up to it or soften to the floor. I'm going to stay higher so you can hear my voice a little more clearly. And soften down. So now go ahead and stretch your arms out, lengthen them, straighten them. Bring your hands out about as wide as your mat, no matter what the width of your shoulder is. But if you're about as broad as your mat, you might go a little wider. And then from there, you're going to push down into your hands and your finger pads. Now let your shoulders move all the way up to your ears. So your hands will probably track even a little further forward, right? And then I'm going to move my hands back just a little bit, and I'm going to reach my shoulder blades down to my buttocks, even though the crown of my head reaches forward, right? So those are the two of the extremes anyway. So now come right back to the middle, where your shoulders are not all the way up to your ears, but they're not slamming down to your buttocks. And then try to hug them to your rib cage as much as you can. Can you figure out how to do that, right? Can you find those muscles that hug your scapula into your rib cage? Push down into the hands and the finger pads. And so just this right now, that's all it is, right? See if you can push the hands a little forward and reach those buttocks bones back, not from the shoulder blades. That's just a lengthening. And then inhale up into hands and knees. Bring your knees in a little bit, curl your toes under, and make your way back to downward dog. Now we're going to bend the knees a lot. And we're going to stack our heels on top of the ball mounds of our feet as much as we can in our particular bodies, right? And then from there, I want you to push the mat forward and away from you. Reach your buttocks bones back. Some of us need to move into that imaginary beach ball and tone our low bellies and maybe even our ribs, our low ribs, slightly towards the spine. Now, if I could, I would touch the area at the bottom tips of your shoulder blades with my fingers, and I would just give just the lightest pressure to remind you to reach that area forward towards your chest towards your toes, or melt it down, right? Melt the heart, but not from your low floating ribs. That stays neutral. And take a breath there. And then come back down into child's pose. This time, if it's okay with your body, I want you to bring your arms by your side with your palms up. And you can just kind of snuggle those arms in wherever they're comfortable. Forehead can come down. And notice how rounded your shoulders are, right? Your shoulders round down to the ground, your upper back rounds. And so this is one way you can get that area to open when you're in child's pose. You could take this, when it feels appropriate for your body. But I want you to take it right now just to move in the opposite direction. And then go ahead and bring your hands next to your knees. Push the body up. If you're okay sitting on your knees, or you could grab a block. We're going to be here for just a moment. But I want you up off of your buttocks so we have a little bit of height to work with. You're going to clasp your thumbs. We've been doing this a lot lately in class, right? I apologize if my hair keeps hitting the microphone. And then go ahead and bring your hands behind you. and see if you can't clasp those thumbs. Now from there, I want you to bend the elbows and then see if you can't work those elbows together almost like they're magnetized behind you. When I do that, my low floating ribs flare. So I'm going to lengthen that area up, toning the low belly, and then I'm going to see if I can't bring that up just a little higher to that place right at the bottom tips of my shoulder blades. Personally, the visualization for me that works is when you see someone go over a high bar, that's the area of the body that really starts to wrap around that high bar, right? And then now pull your thumbs apart or into each other deeply and see if you can't amplify that a little bit. Now maybe those arms reach down. Don't straighten them all the way, even if it's available to you today. Just have that micro bend in the elbows and move the elbows towards one another, but pull your thumbs away from one another. Take another breath from there, and then go ahead and release the arms forward without rounding into our usual dowager's hump shape, and breathe. We have one more little piece to this one, and then we'll call it a day, right? So if you have a block, they're awfully handy. You're going to put the block between your hands, and with the block between your hands, go ahead and push in with your finger pads, your palms, right? I'm not holding it with my fingers wrapping around the block. That's easier for sure, but we're going to try and do the harder version. So from there, go ahead and push into that block. So now slide your fingers forward and go into protraction, right? My shoulder blades move around my spine, but I'm trying to keep my spine pretty long. Now move your shoulder blades together into retraction. Pull them together as much as you can, pushing into the block. And then reach forward, move the shoulder blades into protraction, trying to keep the spine elongated. And then move them back into retraction. Now come right in between the two, hug your shoulder blades into there are muscles there, by the way. Hug your muscles into your rib cage. Don't let those ribs flare. Don't let the low belly flop like the copper tone baby belly, right? And see if you can start to reach those arms up. You could put another block in there to go a little wider on, I would say, the short setting next to it. And then wherever you are, wonderful, right? Now, can you push into the block and can you reach your fingertips up without your shoulders lifting all the way up to the ears? So they come up a little bit, it's true, but don't go into the full elevation, right? Trying to find that place between elevation and depression, between protraction and retraction. Take another breath. And go ahead and bring that down. Set the block off to the side. Maybe take a couple of shoulder rolls if that feels nice. And then again, hopefully this is making sense. Try to find that area right in between the four motions of the shoulder blades. Gently hug the shoulder blade into the rib cage, and notice that when you do that, chances are good anyway, I'm not with you, I can't see in your body, right? But as we kind of hug them in gently, we get this beautiful gentle lift in our chest and our collarbone without it being that extreme version. And close the eyes and breathe. So you might feel like you had a little bit of work in those muscles around your scapula, but the more we can start to work these motions and find them, we find this really great stability because we start to separate our shoulder blades, our scapula, from our rib cage, right? Making them two separate entities so they have more mobility and function. But we also start to strengthen some of those muscles around there so that we can stabilize. Bring those hands together in front of the chest without those shoulders coming around to the front of the body. So keep the shoulder blades gently hugging to the rib cage, even here. Inhale. Exhale, bowing the head in towards the chest and just taking a moment of gratitude from this place. Soft tongue, soft jaw, soft brow. Taking a moment to be grateful for this beautiful body that gets us around every day in some capacity. Namaste, friends. May you be well. Did I do it? Did I do it?